And we are joined now by Vladimir Golstein. He's a professor of Russian studies at Brown University, and he's joining us from Providence, Rhode Island. Professor, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us. Tell us, what is your reaction to this latest news?
Well, I'm not very much impressed with this indictment. You know, what we know that all countries conduct so-called information warfare. We know, for example, that in the situation of Ukraine, United States were very actively involved there, not only interfering in the election, but in fact appointing a person who is going to be in charge after, turnaround of 2014. There was a Victoria Nuland, a representative of State Department appointed. So the countries all do that. So what we hear is that, yes, there were some Russians who were trying to find out, first of all, what's going on, and they didn't like Hillary Clinton, so they tried to present her in a not particularly pleasant way. They hired some actors to perform or sit in the cage as if she's arrested. Well, if this, has had any impact on the election, then I don't know, then we can have let's change election anywhere. 5 people who acted like Hillary behind the cage. This is not
excuse me, that's
really serious.
That's really not the issue right now, whether they actually had impact. The issue is that they allegedly tried to have an impact on this election.
Well, what they try to do with this indictment, for example, states in the charge number 31 that by 2016, June 2016, one of those Russians contacted a grassroots, American from Texas who told them that the target is so-called purple state. So I don't know how qualified these people were. If only by 2016 they learned out, which every American knew, that they were certain battle states. So they try to, organize something, but I don't know. It's, these things are happening all over the world, but that type of, rather extravagant charges, what it will lead to, I can very easily imagine that any American, who will go and travel to Russia, China, Iran, and who would meet with some opposition or who meet with some dissidents would be targeted. So that's basically what they're trying to say, that Russians wanted to meet, people who were not happy with the regime. There are millions of people, Americans, who are not happy with Hillary, who are not happy with what's going on.
Okay,
so,
well,
I mean, this is,
well,
I find this very
let's look at the Mueller
charges.
investigation as a whole to this point. You've got to consider former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn has pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. The former Foreign Policy Advisor George Papadopoulos has pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. Former Deputy Campaign Manager Rick Gates on verge of signing a plea agreement, reportedly. And then you have the former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort facing a variety of charges. Now you have this. All of this points to that there was, in fact, something going on. Would you agree?
Well, I mean, this is an old technique that so-called there is no smoke without fire. So let's keep on bringing the charges. But these charges, for example, state that this group tried to organize rallies, Trump is not our president. At the same time, they tried to organize a rally, Trump is our president. They had a rally, helping rally, which would sound like, Muslims for Hillary. So this is just, typical informational warfare, which all countries conduct with each other. And the United States now, because they don't have real serious charges, real allegations, which will tie President Trump to Russians, they're trying to stir up all this sort of, smoke without fire. But there is, what I want to say, there's obviously no smoking gun. So they can charge Manafort, who in fact was working for Ukraine, and say, oh, there is something there. They can charge, Mr. Page, who in fact, from what I understand, was an informer for FBI, and say, oh, he knew something.
Well,
they can get some kind of dossier from England who claimed that Trump had something hanky-panky going on in Moscow.
Many would argue,
but this all
Professor,
sort of,
many would argue that there is no smoking gun of collusion at this point. Even the critics of the president say this is not a smoking gun of collusion, but it's just one more piece of alleged evidence that the Robert Mueller investigation has found.
Well, after working for a whole year, they had to find something. I'm not, honestly, everybody knows that. As I said, United States were very active in all over the world, from Ukraine to Russia. They recently invited, opposition leader Ksenia Sobchak they invited her, they sort of gave her the platform, they supported. So every country is involved in this. There is absolutely nothing new about it. So Russians, in comparing with the time of Cold War, there's absolute peanuts. All
right. Well, Professor, we're going to have to leave it there.
$1 billion.
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Professor.
Thank you.